You are watching America Trends. I'm Mary Burt-Godwin. I have a very special guest with us today. You know, a few months ago during the summer, we talked about a big case that came out in the news with Amazon. And so we called in Dan Negroni, legal analyst, also business coach, so we're gonna talk about that. But Dan Negroni, you're back because Amazon has answered this big case, right? So let me tee this up a little bit. Back in the summer, we had you on to talk about the fact that the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission filed a lawsuit against Amazon during the summer that aims to force the company to issue a full refund and a recall of potentially hazardous products sold on their site. Yeah. We had a nice discussion as to what the heck was going on with that. Because is Amazon liable for the products that are sold there?
Well, we should tee it back up. So Amazon has a marketplace.
Yeah.
And they really are the seller, the online seller. And the government agency said, if you're selling defective products for a seller that goes through your marketplace, you need to be liable. And they said, whoa, we don't want to do that. However, very, very quickly, they've come back and said, we're going to put it in a system that we think is going to make the Consumer Protection Safety Committee feel good. And that response was they put their money where their mouth was. And they said, every time through our marketplace, a seller sells something that's defective, we're going to set aside $1,000 for any claims to the client. And the client can just come in, they can fill out the regular customer service form.
Come in where? Does that mean just go to their laptop?
Yeah, go to their laptop, come in to the portal, put their complaint in there, and get $1,000. And Amazon's will go back and deal with the seller, but they're just going to give it to the consumer.
So even if it's a $50 item?
No, I think up to $1,000 will solve
I got you.
80% of the problems that they have on their marketplace.
Because I was thinking, what about all the people who are just going to be like, oh, it's defective and want $1,000?
They have to prove it's defective. They have to prove it's hazardous. There has to be all those things. But they'll just easily give it up to $1,000 to settle it. And so no problem for 80% of their cases. And for those that may be more, they actually have a process. You can come into that same portal online and put in your claim, and they'll actually go back and they will fight the seller for you. Or they'll put the structure in there. And so it really kind of was giving the Consumer Protection Agency something that said, hey, we're going to stand behind what we sell, in most cases, all the time, 80% of them, and we're going to help put together something so you big bad agency don't come down on us with more regulations and rules that make it harder than that. So we're going to self-police.
Okay.
And do you know how they do that?
How? You go to your portal.
They go back to the seller and say, hey, you got to pay for insurance probably. And then Amazon sells the seller insurance. And so that's how they pay.
I just thought you were going to say Jeff Bezos with all his bajillion dollars
just gives it away.
Is giving away the $1,000.
Gives it away.
It's not coming from his pocket.
I don't think so.
Probably not.
Or the stockholders. And so the sellers. That's who pays. And rightfully so. If they did bad stuff, naughty them, they should pay.
They need to make sure their products are worthwhile. But you know, a lot of the things this would probably cover, but I was just remember we talked about some pajamas that were flammable and probably harmful to kids and that could hurt kids. So that's going to be more than $1,000. So
well, if it really, if you haven't just bought it, but an event happens where flames go up and something, God forbid, happens to your kid, for sure it'll be more. But they have the economic structure is now in place to make the government happy and to charge the sellers where they need to, and to make the consumer happy.
Yeah, and you're right, that was pretty quick. It was just recently that you were in here.
We were in here in the summer, and it's already in place September 1st.
September 1st, which, was last week.
That's pretty quick.
That is really quick. All right, well,
so good for them. Yeah.
Good job, Amazon. We'll give them a clap. So I don't want to talk any more legal stuff with you because I was looking on your Instagram and I was researching you a little bit. And you are a business coach. You were a full-time practicing lawyer. Now you focus on your business coaching lifestyle, right?
It's business coaching.
Okay, business coaching.
Executive coaching for entrepreneurs or for really large Fortune 100, 500 companies, executives of all level, or young millennials that are we coach everyone. We have a team of coaches.
That's what I was going to ask you about. So one thing is, it said you were a millennial author.
Yes,
so what does that mean?
I wrote a book called
Chasing Relevance. You're not a millennial.
I am not a millennial.
I'm just going to call you out on that right now.
Wait, right
I was
there.
like, I think you're a Gen Z or Gen Xer with me, probably.
No. Well, I'm actually the year Boomer converts to Gen X.
Okay.
So I'll be 56 this year. Yeah.
Well, but you have researched millennials and written about millennials.
We have done independent research and trained over 20,000 millennials on how to show up as their authentic self in the workplace and crush career performance.
Okay, and not complain about not having a foosball table in their office.
Well,
I mean, look, that's a horrible thing to say, but I've had some experience in this, and there's this.
I'm going to protect them because
okay, do it.
I love millennials and Gen Zs,
okay.
and I
so
think
glad you...
they are way more than that.
Okay,
they're
good.
Super smart. They just do things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And they grew up in a world of technology that none of us had, right? We remember a dial-up phone. They don't.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
I have a friend here that visiting in the other room. She's my friend since we were 6 years old. We used to talk on the phones that were attached to the wall.
Not tin cans with a wire.
Right, not that old. No, but but yeah, we just didn't live in this. I think we'd play, it was like Pac-Man on a
Miss
little
Pac-Man
yellow
Atari.
Yeah. Yes. But now the world that these kids are living in, it's just beyond me.
Yeah,
that's all they know.
Yeah, soon we're going to have the metaverse and everything's going to be in virtual reality. They're just going to put a helmet on and be able to be everywhere. I just think that they grew up with so much more technology and so much more awareness about everything in life.
I agree.
And so I think they're smarter, to be quite honest. And sometimes it comes across as pampered, but that's not really the truth, in my experience.
They're not putting up with things that people prior to them put up with, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, for sure.
Being treated in the workplace certain ways. Or, the Me Too movement.
Yeah, I mean, gender, race, all those things, diversity, bridging the gap between disparate groups and different opinions and allowing themselves to be heard, right? It's not like when I came to my first job and they're like, sit down, shut up, and do what I say.
Yeah.
And listen really well so you can do this someday too. It's contribute, give us your opinion.
Be part
of
the
team. Help us figure. We hope you're engaged. It's really hard to find employees out there. I think 40% after COVID of the workforce are looking for new jobs.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because I was reading an article about that it's just people are researching who they are, going in and saying, who am I? This whole world is so crazy out there. It's making everyone kind of question what they're doing with their lives.
Yeah, I think so. It's really interesting that, we now have some space, right? Like space to think about why are we here, what are we doing, and COVID gave us that space.
Yeah.
Sitting alone in our bedrooms, working, and being alone, crying, eating ice cream, whatever, in your pajamas for days on end. But it really gave us some space to say, is this really who I am and what I want to be doing, and what else is out there, and more importantly, how do I create impact? And I think so. All the really cool things about millennials and Gen Zs have bubbled to the surface, wanting to create societal impact. And the pause, right? Some of my clients call it holding space.
I have my necklace as a pause button.
Is it? Oh,
yeah,
I love that.
Because I believe in the pause of the just take a moment, take a breath, don't react.
Cardinal rule of coaching, between stimulus and response, it's about how you create the space in between to react the right way.
Yeah.
And so,
because the first thought is
pause.
Well, my first thought is never the right thought. It's never a good thought. My first thought is usually something.
Yeah, that's the trigger.
The trigger, right?
Yeah.
I think most people, we don't have to act on it. I'm not responsible for my first thought. That's what I've been taught. So that, but I'm responsible. As
long as you don't say it out loud.
True. And or type it or email it or text it to somebody, right?
That's saying it out loud.
Yeah. But taking that moment, the pause to just go, okay, I don't need to react in that way.
Well, I think it's taking the pause. I love the fact that you actually have the pause button there. It's taking the pause to say, how do I want to react? And meaning, what's going to be the best impact from the way I react to create a result? And I think actually millennials and Gen Zs and all of us are much more in tune with trying to do that after COVID.
Yeah. This made me think of a question that I want to ask you.
Sure.
This has been on my mind, actually. So when we're, we have that thought, and then we're like, pause, I want to send this email, I want to send a text, and we kind of craft what we want to say. What do you think about worrying about or thinking about when the other person is receiving the message?
So it's great,
you know what I mean?
Great question, and great tee up to one of our best tools. First of all, any email you write, you should hold on or at least look at the top and reread it and say, is this about me or is this about them? So we call it what's in it for them with them. As human beings, we're always focused on what about me, what about me, what about me. That's our first reaction that you want to say. However, if as a leader, as a millennial, a Gen Z, or a boomer, you can figure out what's in it for the audience or think about that before you send your email and then focus it in that particular way, you win 100% of the time. It's called whiff them.
No matter when they get the email. I mean,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because you've said, what do they need from me? Which are the platinum rule. Treat others the way they want to be treated. What are they expecting? What do they need from me? How do I create more trust? How do I create alignment? How do I get what I need that helps them?
Okay, we have so much more to talk about. Okay. Every time you come here, I'm like, la, 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 la. Okay, so you are watching America Trends. We've got Dan Negroni here, business coach, and we've got so much more to talk about with you right after the break, so stick around for more with Dan. You are watching America Trends. I'm Mary Burt-Godwin. We are getting very deep here with my guest, Dan Negroni, business coach. And I just always love talking to you, Dan, because we come up with I always think I have things I need to talk to you about. And you've got great insight. And I just heard a quote that I want to share with you, talking about what we were just kind of saying, the pause button, and then saying, figuring out what you're going to tell people. So it says, mean what you say what you mean, and don't say it mean. This is by the comedian Whitney Cummings, who's so funny, and something very heartfelt from here. But mean what you say what you mean, and don't say it mean.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, especially the don't say it mean.
Yeah.
My dad had this quote that was, honesty that kills is still murder. Right? So you could have the best intentions.
Oh, ouch. Yeah.
Right? The best intentions. However, you don't want to eviscerate someone.
True. Well, this is going to don't say it mean, because it's different when you type it. And I feel this way anytime I have something that's, maybe emotional in whatever way, is I try to say it to the person, because you can't hear intonation in a text. Or an email. So I might be writing, hey, have a great day, something. And then the person's reading like, yeah, have a great day,
right.
Mean dog. They're not here. They're reading it through their own interpretation.
People hear things, right? Listeners or receivers hear it the way they want to interpret it. And sometimes we're just off. And that's why it goes to the same thing. It's not about me. It's about the other person. How do I serve them? How do I help them? How do I connect with them? How do I make it better?
How do I make it better? How can I help?
Yeah.
Right? But I feel like getting it out, getting out the mean part stuff, that's just, that first thought, it's good to write it out or say it out or scream it out or write it out. Well, just don't send.
Certainly if you feel that way. I mean, I think the biggest challenge in coaching is that when you're trying to bridge a gap of 2 parties, 3 parties, 2 different groups, is people don't feel like they're heard.
Yeah, true.
And so, again, it goes to the pause button and the space. Can you give them the space to at least allow them to be heard, even if you're not going to agree with them? And then can you agree with them in a respectful way? Don't say it mean, in a way that serves everybody, and explain the rationale behind it. It all boils down to one thing in leadership. Do you know what that is?
What?
Communication. And
absolutely.
It's so complicated. It's simple, not easy, because we're human beings.
Well, in that thought, though, do you think that it's better to communicate something that's of importance? I feel like email and text, et cetera, is just good for data and messages and time and factual interchange of information. But when you have something of importance, you need to communicate a message. Hey, I know people don't like, the meeting for the meeting, but let's talk for 5 minutes. Let's get on the phone for 5 minutes so you can get your message across.
Yeah, I mean, in person or speaking, or the phone, voice,
or Zoom these days.
Absolutely. I think is much better than in an email, for sure. But there's times and ways to use written communication as their way is verbal as action, and so you just have to again focus on what's in it for the other side. What do they need from you at this particular time? If you don't know what they need from you, what do?
You ask.
Yeah, my God, imagine that. Brilliant is we have to ask people. It's called inquiry. So what's in it for them? If we don't know what's in it for them, we use inquiry as a tool. Imagine that. We ask, what's the best way to serve you now? What do you need from me now? What can I do for you to help you?
So even if what if they're a difficult
Who's not
employee?
difficult? Right.
Well, right.
Yeah.
What if it's me and you need to tell me something important and I'm difficult? There's different types of personalities.
How much time do we have for that?
I know we don't have enough, but I saw a video on your Instagram.
Yeah, we have something called GPS, and it's a way to communicate with people. It could be for difficult conversations, for conflict, but it's gratitude, permission, shared experience, and that's how you frame your thing. You tell the person why you're grateful for them, and even if you're angry or you don't get along, there's probably something you respect or like about them. Why gratitude? Everyone likes gratitude. Number 2 is you ask for permission to tell, hey, would it be okay if I explained this or we explored this together? Would it be okay if I might tell you something that I perceived that, may be an issue or you may have a challenge with?
And is now a good time?
And it's now a good time.
Right? Yeah.
And if 99% of the time they'll say yes, but when you ask someone for permission, it seeds control. So it gets them listening better, thinks you respect them, and it seeds control. So they're much more willing to hear it. And then the third part is when you go for the big gusto and you tell them the Don't Say It Mean by Whitney Cummings is, you share it as an experience. Here's how I experienced you. Why do we share it as an experience?
To get common ground? Commonality?
Yes.
I feel like
however,
I'm in a classroom.
Yeah. However, we do it because people can't argue with what you experienced.
Oh, right. Yep.
And so you're just sharing what you felt. You could be wrong, and the person gets the chance to explain it. We don't do it as a judgment. And so you do that, and then there are all these ways. If anyone wants the tip sheet, it's on our website.
Yeah, let's pull up your Instagram account, because what's your handle?
Dan.Negroni.
Dan.Negroni.
I think that's my name.
Because you have a lot of great videos and tips on your Instagram feed.
Yeah.
People can just browse.
Yeah.
2 tips to manage difficult
I
personalities.
know what
I think the crew all watched that in order to get ready for me.
The number one rule in the workplace was the platinum rule. Treat everyone the way they want to be treated.
The way they want to be treated, or the way you want to be treated?
What happens if you treat, like I get into that trouble with my wife all the time. If I treat her the way I want to be treated, I fail every time. But if I ask her what she wants from me, I actually have the chance of maybe succeeding after 35 years.
That's getting into like the love language stuff, because it's like everyone experiences it differently.
You need to know what they want, not what you want. No one cares what you want.
They don't.
No, just you. Just you.
That's true.
Yes.
That's so true. So when you work with people, you work with individuals and people maybe that wanting to go out on their own and become entrepreneurs, but also businesses and maybe VPs of organizations that need to manage people.
Ps, CEOs,
all of them.
CMOs, MOs, whatever, directors, yes.
And you help
we work with them all. We have a system that goes through fundamentally inside out. Who are they? How do they want to show up in the world? What are their strengths, values, skills, passions, brand? How do they connect it in a story that connects with other people? Using with them. We use with them. We use GPS. And we teach them how to impact the world in a way that articulates their value to others. That's what we do.
And to manage teams and to, because like we were saying, people want to be heard.
Yes.
So there's this fine line, I think, of the old school, just listen to me, show up.
Yeah, that doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't?
Not really.
But what about, let's just say, just get a hypothetical. For, someone 22 years old, they're coming in out of college. They know a lot from the books. They just don't have a lot of work experience. So we want to hear your ideas because you probably have some good ones, things we haven't thought of. But also, we need you to get coffee and just kind of listen. Is that too old school?
No, I mean...
He's like, you're going to fail.
No, I mean, sometimes you need coffee. I get that. I think there are 3 things you have to do for your workplaces. One is people have to feel safe. They have to feel like they believe you have their back, that they belong to a team. So belief, belong, become. They belong to a team, a community, or a tribe, and they can become, they can grow, and they can be something and learn and get better. If you teach them that they're safe, they belong to your team, and that you got their back to become something, you can ask them for coffee all day long.
All day long.
And
that's just part of it's the way you approach it, right? And I really think the whole tribe, I love that word because I really think that's an important
it's politically
feeling.
Incorrect these days, but it's a good word.
True.
There's a book called Tribes out there that's great.
But it's important to have that. And shoot, we're running out of time, Dan, so will you come back?
Of course.
Man, I love our conversations. This is really important for people in the workplace and in their business or their personal life.
Yeah, getting better, communicating.
All right, thank you so much. Everyone at home, thank you so much for tuning in. We've got more right after this.